Moore.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
Shaner. Here. Scott.
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brendan, you want to meet me at the microphone? We have a proclamation that reads, whereas for over 50 years, community health centers have provided high-quality, affordable, comprehensive primary and preventive health care in the nation's underserved communities, delivering value to and having a significant impact on America's health care system. And whereas the country's largest primary care network, health centers now serve as the health care home for over 30 million Americans and over 14,000 delivery sites across the nation. 1 in every 12 people in the United States gets their care in a community health center. And whereas every day health centers are developing new approaches to integrating a wide range of services beyond primary care, including oral health, vision, behavioral health, and pharmacy services, to meet the needs and challenges of their community. And whereas the Siouxland Community Health Center is a critical economic engine helping to power the local economy by generating millions of dollars in combined economic impact and job creation. Health centers save the entire health system billions of dollars annually by managing chronic conditions and keeping patients out of the costlier health care settings. Now, therefore, I, Robert D. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim August 5th and 9th as National Health Center Week and extend our appreciation to the Siouxland Community Health Center for its years of dedicated service to the people of Siouxland. I want to present this to you, and we do want to thank you for all that you do with it. Our community is a much better place because of what you do, so thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to say a few words. You know, we do serve a lot of people in this community, and we have great people like Trela on our board that help with so many different things. We serve about 37,000 patients annually, with about 53 languages that were spoken last year amongst our patients, which is very surprising that it's that many. So advocacy-wise, we have a lot of advocacy for our patients, and we do a lot for the community in that way. We're one of about 35 health centers nationwide out of 1,400 that have achieved the gold level standard for advocacy, which is the only one between Canada and San Antonio and Denver and Chicago. So we're the only one truly in the Midwest that does that. So thank you very much for honoring us. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Interview for Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustment, Nick Haggerty. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Hi all, my name is Nick Haggerty. I currently work at Prime Bank. I've been a banker for over 20 years. I'm interested in serving on the P&Z and the Board of Adjustment. I feel it's an important board to be a part of in Sioux City. And I also feel that it's important for me to volunteer on boards and committees wherever I can be of assistance, and I feel like the planning and zoning matches my interests and my qualifications.
Question?
I think you'd be a great addition. Your background, your experience, and just your thought process.
Thank you, Dan.
No, I appreciate you making the application for sure.
Great.
Cleared this with your wife? Make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
You've got enough time on your schedule, man? Yeah, no doubt.
We appreciate you applying. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
We'll go to the consent agenda today, items 3 through 17G. Consider them to pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote's requested by a council member. If you want to speak on an item, come up as I read it. Be sure and state your name and address for the record. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 is a reading of the July 18th and 22nd City Council minutes. 4 is a motion appointing Teresa Hebert to the Historic Preservation Commission. 5 are motions acknowledging the July 9th Board of Adjustment actions. 6 is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the annual storm inlet repair project. You know, I want to make sure I don't miss something here. Hang on. Okay, no, we're good. Okay, I thought it was under Board of Adjustments, not. 6 are resolution adopting plans and specs for the annual storm inlet repair project. 7 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution approving a contract amendment to the Iowa Finance Authority for the American Rescue Plan Act Emergency Rental Assistance Funds.
Mayor?
Yes.
On that point, Jill, I just want to point out, because I think you deserve a lot of credit for this. In the discussion, it says, due to the city's performance with regard to the administration of these funds, the state offered additional funding in the amount of $750,000. That tells me you're doing a great job, because you're getting an additional $750,000 for it.
Yes, Jill Wanderscheid, Neighborhood Services Manager. I would pass that along to Clara Coley, who's our supervisor of that program, and then also Armando Mora in our office. He works directly a lot with the people that are participating in that program, as well as Holly Bathurst and several others from our office. So yeah, they had additional funds, and we had spent through quite a bit doing our homelessness prevention program. So they offered some more, and we were happy to take that on.
And I trust you'll find a home for those funds by
Oh, yes.
September 30th of
Absolutely.
2025.
Yes. We provide up to 6 months of rental assistance to keep people in their units. So we do 3 months arrears, and then we can do up to 3 months forward. So it's a great program to have here.
What are some of the other things that it gets spent on? Can you just remind us?
Yes, the other program that Armando runs is our rapid rehousing program. And so that provides case management and rental assistance to transition someone that's experiencing homelessness into housing, and then provide that support as
Keep them
to keep that housing, yes.
Well, please let them all know that we're really
Yes.
proud of them.
Absolutely.
Very
I'm sure
much
they're
so.
probably watching right now.
I hope they are. We're very proud
They
of you
watch
if
the
you're
meetings,
watching.
so yes, they're probably
And they've got a great
excited.
leader.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations. Thank
Thank
you.
B is a resolution approving a grant agreement from the FAA to fund the runway and taxiways rehabilitation project at the airport. Items 8A through 8D are resolution temporarily closing various downtown streets for A, Gays Eating Garlic Bread for Flood Recovery Outdoor Festival, B, Shotgun Law Enforcement Motorcycle Support the Blue Fundraiser, C, Dueling Duo, a Piano Showdown, and D, the Sioux City Symphony Opening Night Celebration at the Orpheum Theater. 9 are actions relating to civil penalties and suspensions. A is a resolution scheduling a hearing on the proposed $300 penalty against Sarge's Mini Mart Number 2 for violation of the cigarette laws. B is a resolution scheduling a hearing on a proposed $300 penalty against Cure CBD and Vape for violation of the cigarette laws. 10 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a change order with Mid-Continent Restoration for the Tyson Event Center tuck pointing and sealant project. B is a resolution approving a service provider agreement with Subservco for the 19th Street Emergency Riprap Project. I need to abstain on that item, please. C is a conflict of interest. C is a resolution approving a service provider agreement with Roto-Rooter for the Healthy Homes Production Grant Program. D is a resolution approving an occupational medicine services agreement with CNOS to perform pre-employment physicals and non-DOT drug and alcohol screening. The only thing I would like to say on this is it's unfortunate that the prior provider performed so poorly and we didn't know about it. In the future, you have a 4-year contract here. If after a year this provider's not providing, I would hope that we would not wait to end that contract. It doesn't make sense to me to go through what you say we went through, and it's unacceptable. I mean, I don't want to be in violation of drug screening and that type of stuff. That's the last thing that I think this city needs. And if you have a supplier that doesn't perform, then why wait until the contract's up? Makes no sense to me going forward. E is a resolution approving a reimbursable agreement with the FAA for the runway and apron reconstruction project at the airport. 11 are actions relating to personnel. A is a resolution suspending the requirements of the Iowa Code for hiring of employees for the police department for a period of 1 year. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for your service. My name is Cindy Hansen. I live at 2112 South Henry Street. I've been a council-appointed member of the Civil Service Commission for Sioux City since 2015, and I've served as the chair of the commission for the last few years. Thank you for the opportunity today to speak to you regarding the resolution to suspend the Iowa Code Section 400.11(1)A for the hiring of employees of the police department. It's been an honor to serve as a volunteer for the Civil Service Commission for the last 9 years. I've taken my role on that commission seriously and sought to make decisions that best represent the interests of the citizens of this great city at all times. I'm here today to urge you to decline the resolution presented. My understanding of the resolution is being presented with the goal of increasing the speed of hire and competitiveness of Sioux City in recruiting police officers. I greatly respect the work of the Sioux City Police Department, and I'll speak more about that in just a moment. I don't, however, believe suspension of this rule requiring certification of hiring lists has a significant impact on the speed with which job offers can be extended. The certification list occurs in a matter of minutes at a monthly commission meeting. The testing process for officers and other civil service positions require much advanced planning and notice. That takes much longer than the certification process. The Human Resources Office and each city department know the schedule of commission meetings. We meet the same time every month. Planning to complete a testing process within days of a commission meeting can result in little, if any, delay for list certification. I saw this played out with the fire chief. The testing process concluded about a week before the list was certified. Very little delay. What the suspension of the certification process will do is deny applicants the opportunity to appeal removal from a list. If a list is not certified, there is no appeal. The way the suspension of the rule has been explained to me is that a list of successfully testing candidates is provided to the hiring manager. They make decisions from there as to whether to extend offers or to request a new testing process. This removes the commission approval and public transparency from the process. Civil service commissioners were removed from the oral examination step of the process a couple years ago. This suspension will remove them from another critical step in the process of accountability. As a seasoned HR professional myself, I understand the desire to create efficiency and expediency. However, it's also important to recognize the dangers of doing so. I've heard suspension of this rule will make it easier to fill vacancies. I ask you to critically evaluate the reality by asking more questions. Are vacancies going unfilled due to lack of applicants? Suspending the rule does nothing to improve the number of applicants you're receiving. If vacancies are going unfilled because candidates are choosing a quick option over a quality option, is that a candidate that we want on our police force? As I mentioned, I have great respect for Chief Mueller and the department. Sioux City PD has worked hard to distinguish themselves from other police forces. They are role models in our state of positive results of collaboration between public and law enforcement. Is this being sold to the candidates throughout the recruitment and the selection process? I may be naive, but I believe candidates with personal integrity, solid ethics, and high standards will be drawn to a career at a department that reflects those, not simply looking for the quickest job offer they can get. I realize it's a competitive job market in every position the city has. Police and fire are those uniquely public service positions where there's not competition in a private sector. The Chapter 400 rules apply to every municipality. These are ones that these positions require. The civil service process does slow down hiring. I acknowledge that. However, it does so on a fair and equitable basis. The rules apply across the state, not just to Sioux City. The certification which you're being asked to suspend does not significantly slow the process. Do you believe it's in the best interest of the city to speed up the process by a few days at the cost of eliminating due process? The Civil Service was established 87 years ago in Sioux City. The establishment of the commission was a means to minimize personal favors of employment and increase accessibility and transparency of government employment. It provides a fair, impartial, and uninvolved tribunal for appeals, which supports public trust in the employment system. As you consider the resolution, I ask you to determine if you're willing to suspend state code, deny due process, and undermine public trust for the prospect of hiring a police officer candidate who is making an employment decision based upon the quickest offer they can get rather than the quality of the force they're going to join. I would respectfully ask for you to vote against this resolution. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Anyone else?
Hi, Lieutenant Brad Bollinger, Sioux City Police Department. We understand the Civil Service Commission's point, and we respect everything they do for us, and they've always been very receptive towards us. Our plan isn't to not hire the best candidates or candidate. Our plan is basically to streamline the process. Currently, it takes about 4 months for the civil service process to go through, and we want to streamline that down to about 1 month and increase our. How's that?
Yeah, if this process of them approving that list doesn't add 3 months to your process. I've been on the Civil Service Commission. I know enough to be dangerous. So how is it this will cut 3 months off?
Well, so our proposal is to cut one step, which is the oral exam phase, which then we would have a selection criteria and then go to an oral interview phase that we do for the police department.
But normally, historically, because I've done that before, normally those interviews are done very quickly. You line up a day. It's not like that's a 3-month process. That's what I'm asking. How does this cut 3 months off?
Okay, so currently we take applications for a period of about a month and a half. Then once those close, we do the written and physical fitness test. We do 2 and then a makeup. And when those are done, then once the list goes to, then we have about a 2-3 week time frame, and then we go to the oral exam phase. And then after that, those that pass the list is certified. There is and when she says the list is certified in minutes, there's times where we've waited close to a month before that list is certified, and they also have to have a quorum for their certification of the list, and they haven't always had that, so we have waited considerably.
I understand all that, Brad, but it's also, just because the meeting is the first Tuesday of every month doesn't mean that once you have a list ready, you can't ask them to have a special meeting, can you? I mean, is that?
No, we've been told we can't.
Huh?
They used to digitally sign it, and we've been told that they can't digitally sign it and they cannot have a separate hearing. We have to wait for the monthly meeting.
Absolutely, you can have a special meeting. Absolutely, you can have a special meeting, and now to get a quorum, they can actually do it by Zoom, as I understand it, if they can't make it for other reasons.
Well, with what was passed, yeah.
What?
With that new change and open.
Right. So I don't see where this, maybe other than your oral exam, which if you even had 40 candidates and they split their commission, which they have the right to do, I'm speaking now without knowing for sure, but they have the right to split their commission up because they don't do it as a total commission. One represents them normally in these interviews. They can have 2 or 3 panels, and they could have that done easily for you in a day or 2. And so you're going to gain, you can cut a lot of time off this. I'm kind of with them. I've served on the Civil Service Commission, and I kind of appreciate their work. Now, maybe it hasn't gone the way you guys would like it. I understand they don't have quorums. I don't like that either, but there are ways around it without gutting the system. Go ahead.
Janelle Bertrand, Human Resources Director. A couple things on that. We can hold a special or emergency commission meeting anytime that we need to, and we have done that. What in the past we used to do is obtain electronic signatures we'd send the list around and get electronic signatures. And we were told we could no longer do that because the list had to be voted on in a meeting. So that's what I believe Lieutenant Bollinger was indicating. Now, regarding the whole certification and waiving the list, you were right. If we have a test on Monday and the civil service meetings happens to be on Tuesday, we can get that list certified very quickly. If we miss the meeting, we can have a special meeting. Really, getting the list certified is not the issue. It's once we get the list certified, we are not able to advertise or ask for a new list until the list is exhausted or the year has completed. That's the lag in the time frame.
But how does that change?
We would no longer get a certified eligibility list. My staff would review them in quals, all the testing remains in place, and a list of qualified candidates would then be sent to the departments. The departments would determine who they want to interview. There would be HR input on, you can't just interview 2 people and then say you've exhausted the list. They have to show an effort that they've met with people, they've talked with people, they had interview questions that were appropriate, and there was a good reason that they were not selected.
Which can be difficult. I mean, it's almost, yeah, you're in difficult situations where, you know, due to one reason or one concern, you know, it's difficult. You want to be transparent and select the best and people that are going to really do the job or perform it well, whether you're talking about this position or other positions. But unfortunately, sometimes that's difficult to articulate of why necessarily you think there would be other candidates that would bring other strengths, even if they meet them in quals. It's difficult.
Problematic when you have a small list and you've interviewed both candidates, just say there's 2, for example, on the list, and neither candidate is the best candidate. I would not recommend hiring someone that you don't feel is a good fit for the office. That sets someone up for failure. They are leaving a job, a current job that they have that we know more than likely isn't going to work out. But with civil service, we are not able to promote or open the new vacancy until that list is exhausted. So we've had departments.
Which takes 1 year.
Depending on the list.
I think that's our rule. I don't think it's state law.
Yes.
It is
And
state law.
some of the law enforcement positions lists are longer than 1 year.
Amber Hegarty, Assistant City Attorney. I am the legal counsel for the Civil Service Commission, and I do respect their opinion and I understand their concerns, but I also am probably the most familiar with Chapter 400. With regards to the length of the list, that is set by the Civil Service Commission. The promotional positions are longer, can be longer than a year. Those are not the positions we're talking about. That list would not be certified. Our entry lists, I believe, are valid for 6 months currently.
For us, yes.
For police only. We had to move to a shorter list because we were running out of names. Quite honestly, the list would be expired and we would need to start the process again. When the police department came to us and asked us to consider this, one of their concerns was they want to be able to do almost a rolling testing. They want to keep the process going, bringing in as many people as they can, and they couldn't do that while there was a certified list. And so I would just encourage council to listen to both sides. You have to make a decision, but would remind you that this is a temporary suspension.
Which you can ask for an extension.
We can ask for an extension.
Which we will.
It can only be for 1 year, and it can be revoked at any time. So
it's essentially a trial period. You're just saying, look, we are really in a difficult spot with hiring and we are not getting enough police force to fill the positions that we need and really get more badges on streets and take care of our community to the level that we feel is necessary or our police force feels is necessary. And so we're saying we just want to try
It
something.
also is about hiring the very best candidates too.
Oh, I totally.
And so you guys can do what you want to do. And I'm the one that sent an email out trying to figure out other ways. You know, I've heard if we extended the amount, how far out a police officer can live, that's going to solve our problem. I've heard all these things, and quite frankly, they're not working. Okay? So I don't know what the answer is, but there's a reason for civil service. And that reason is to make sure that the hiring process is fair for everyone. And that's a concern for me.
I will say that
This department 30 years ago was rampant. with nepotism, and you can tell me all about it wasn't, it was. Same thing with the fire department. And so that always concerns me, that young people that may want to go into one of these professions were not being chosen. We've ended that, I get it. We're not that department anymore, but it's still, these things are a concern to me because I remember those departments, and if you weren't somebody, you weren't going to be a member of those departments. I think that's really unfair. Every young person should have an opportunity, and that's one thing that civil service does afford, whether you like it or not.
Well, and I will say that the list of names, and we've sort of been referring to this as the qualified applicant list in order to draw a distinction between what is the certified list under the code. Those names are the exact same, whether or not the certification process occurs or doesn't. As a matter of fact, currently when we certify a list, it may only be the top 10 candidates would get certified and sent on. With the new process, if there are 15 people, for example, that pass the test, those names would all be sent on, not just the top 10.
Right, but you can go get another list right after that before you hire the 15.
Tomorrow, if the council approves the suspension of this, the police department has to appear before the Civil Service Commission tomorrow to change the rules. And civil service can direct them to work with the HR department and how that list is gone through to prevent them getting a list of names, looking at it and saying, we don't like any of these names, we want to start testing right away. So there are some safeguards, and with direction of the council, that we can take when implementing, because the Civil Service Department still has to approve the rules that the police department utilizes for their testing process.
Part of it is we're not looking at removing the whole civil service process. We're still going to have rules, and we're still going to go in front of them to approve the rules. We're just looking at currently not making the list. So everything we do for the hiring process will be in front of the Civil Service Commission, and they will be able to approve it. Quite frankly, part of it is we do 6 months, what doesn't quite correlate with our academy openings and when we actually need to hire. And sometimes we juggle that too. So the process we want to present to them is to make it a 4-month process, which goes aligned with the academy. So we're hiring basically for each academy. And then that way too, we can try to get certified officers that way too easier, where they're not necessarily put on a list or have to go through the entire process, but they go through a fair process the same. The simple fact is we'll still have rules, and we're still trying to hire the very best candidates for each academy and for each opening we have. And we're just not, we have to still follow a process. We just can't throw out every name and say, okay, well, let's start again.
Want to work on changing something, don't change the code here. Change the damn police academy. Cedar Rapids has their own. Des Moines, you got to send them there, because guess what? The good old boys got to have that money coming into Des Moines. I'm so sick of hearing about that police academy, and then they only let you have so many slots, whether you got cops or not. Well, it's time that system goes by the wayside, but you guys don't go down and argue that at the state legislature, and that irritates me, because it's an antiquated system that no longer serves the citizens of this state. And you can't argue with me on that, because you send a guy, a brand new hire that's got a family at home, 16 weeks or whatever it is to that academy. Sometimes their marriages don't work out. We know that, right? I mean, that's a system that needs to go away. But yet we continue to have to put up with that nonsense, and we have to hire according to what they will give us.
Well, the Western Iowa Tech does have a short course, and that's always good, but according to the state, only certain people qualify for that.
Only they can approve the list.
Yes.
Which is another.
And only a small percentage can actually be qualified for it. And it's that number seems to be dwindling.
Ridiculous.
Well, and I will say that I think I was cut off a little bit earlier, that I wholeheartedly agree that the civil service very much so has a function. And I understand what Cindy is saying, and I greatly value the transparency that you're discussing. I mean, I think that that's a very important part of it, is there is that clarity that everyone is given their fair shake, so to speak. I do think that's important. However, I also think that we need to be nimble. There is a much more highly scrutinized process now, where I do believe in the leadership, I do believe in the safeguards, the processes that we've set forward, that there isn't going to be the nepotism of years past, that there was in a number of different organizations. I think with the advent of different scrutiny, different laws, social media, I mean, you name it, it's pretty difficult to hide those things nowadays. And I think that there would be accusations and people would be investigated or looked into that and analyzed. And you as leadership would have to answer to that. I trust that we have better people in those positions now to do so. And people that are going to go through and work with the civil service and make sure that there are still different safeguards in place, but try to be flexible and responsive to the difficulty that we're having. Because I think, and I'm not going to speak for the chief, I think we would all agree with the mayor that it is very frustrating that we can't, I mean, I love the training facility that we have south of town, chief. We've talked about this. Like, I think that should be a regional facility that is training officers as a region from, I've said this, from Okoboji to Council Bluffs, wherever, I don't care. I think we should be utilizing that, but that is going to be a fight that is going to take a great deal of time that unfortunately we don't have. And that's where I'm more open to exploring these flexible options, hoping that safeguards can continue to be in place and understanding that this is a temporary thing. And if there are accusations, if things need to change, as Janelle or Amber clarified, we can change that system. We don't have to re-up it for another year. We can go back. Those things can happen.
Rex Mueller, Police Department. I just want to reiterate some of the things that have been said here and start by saying that we have tremendous respect for the civil service process and always have. I enjoy going in front of the commission for the issues that we have. They've always been extremely receptive to us, allowing us to change the hiring process in the face of a changing and challenging hiring environment. And by no means is this effort right now meant to sidestep transparency. I mean, obviously, we're a CALEA agency. We're a best practices agency. We're not going to institute anything that doesn't match with the values that we put out, with the need for the hiring. And what we're looking for is to basically have a sound hiring process, but that's streamlined, because we are unfortunately losing candidates in the process that either they're waiting or, you know, we went from every 2-year hiring to every year hiring to every 6-month hiring because we were losing kids that were coming out of college with that timing and didn't want to wait to try to get on our list. We were losing people. And so we want to facilitate the most transparent but appropriate hiring process so that we can onboard people and continually onboard people and be in a continual hiring mode so that we're not missing anybody. So this is about perpetuating our ranks with exactly what the mayor said, quality personnel. And by making these suggestions and seeking this kind of process, that's our main goal. Is we want to make our not only you know, our department a great department, but our hiring process to match what we think the department is and bring the people that we're hoping to get in the next several years on board. And again, it's not meant, we're all about oversight, we're all about transparency. And so, you know, to characterize this in any way other than that. And I understand what Cindy said. I caught some of Cindy's comments, and I certainly understand that and where that process comes from. But I think what we're proposing here is sound, and the Civil Service Commission will be involved, and we will actively work with them on a process that, and to address their concerns.
Amber, what were you going to add something to this? Were you going to add something to it? I thought.
No, no, thank you.
But you said the Civil Service Commission can write rules or expand on their rules?
Correct. Their Civil Service Commission has its own rules that they adopt that are actually at times more stringent than Chapter 400, which we are allowed to do. And we just recently revised those rules. And Cindy is absolutely correct. One of the things that she said is by suspending this process, the candidate who was removed at the end of a background check would lose the right to appeal that and ask the board to recertify them back onto the list. I will caveat, however, with the exception of the police department, they have their own very stringent background rules that even if the Civil Service Commission were to put somebody back on that certified list, they're probably still not going to